All right, so this is going to just pick up off of the previous tiling video, and figure out. Earlier, I was basically explaining, get into tiling without worrying about the larger plan. Just use it for various random shapes and whatnot. And let's do some marginal planning, marginal ideas, and maybe this will be, I guess when you've gotten comfortable with the tiling, this is the next step. It's the way forward. And so tiling is kind of a form of you're working with quads. You're working with quad geometry. Quad geometry is something that's going to be very familiar for people who've worked with Blender, worked with any kind of 3D modeling, and a lot of times you're going to have a quad topology on with your surfaces. And so if I have, say, a cylinder, this cylindrical object could be treated as, well, it's like a roll of toilet paper, and we can just draw the perforations, right? And oh, look, it's like if I draw multiple perforations on this, right, we can eventually get, right, we get these squares, we get these quads, quadrilaterals, right? The whole thing can be divided up like that. And then also along the top surface, right, we can continue to get quads to cap this object. And then on the interior of the cylinder, we can still get those quads occurring. So this is the wonderful thing about 3D and maybe today's drawing in today is that a lot of people I've noticed have some experience with 3D modeling. And, we can subdivide these quads down. And these quads that we see on all of the objects around us, it's like if as you look at just objects in real life, we can start to see, oh, look, there's like this nice rectangle, right? That could easily be divided up into quads. There's like lots of parts on this toy that could be, broken down into quad geometry. Same thing here, right? Like this little guy, we could probably get a dividing line that goes down the top. We could probably get a bunch of, lines that inscribe this way. You find ways to take objects, simple everyday objects, and especially this, well, it's a cylinder object too, right? And we can get lots of little subquads, even the little knurling, there's like little knurled ridges on this thing which you use to advance and retract the the goop inside for the lip balm, right? All of this stuff, wow, there's a quad right here. The labeling's a quad. So the reason why I'm not teaching people things like cylinders and cones and cubes and all that stuff is because I feel like the quad is a much more universal. It means that sometimes sometimes certain abstract objects won't necessarily be a nice cylinder. It's like there might not be a sphere in all of this. It might be this is kind of a slightly abstract, slightly squished. A lot of human forms might have some kind of cylindrical or cubic object, topology in there. But I feel like when you try to get into the details, and especially when you want to learn painting, that it's actually better. I think it's probably better to be able to understand, the role of quads, and if you can do the tiling with that sort of thing, like I feel like there's more use there. It's more use cases. So something like this, right? You can see these quads that I've split up, and that's the guiding for the tiling, right? Like it's very, very one-to-one. Something like this. So this little thing that I'm showing you is something I call radiating, because we're trying to radiate the lines outward. And this radiating, right, if I do something like this, well, this is my center point, and I radiate lines outward from that center point, right? It's like in the back of my head, I'm keeping not an eye, because I can only look at where I want my stylus to go, but I'm going to keep in mind where that radiant center point is. And I'll draw lines, even though my attention is out here, there's kind of a mindfulness going on, over here. I've got this mindfulness occurring on that spot over there. And so this way, as I make these lines, I can radiate towards that point, right? Like even though here physically my hand's covering that dot, right? Like that's why this is really an important ability to have, is to be able to radiate towards a point you can't see. So you have to be able to keep in mind things that your hand will obscure, especially if you're drawing on any kind of traditional medium. You're going to be dealing with that. How come this thing is not? Don't know why, but okay, whatever. Weird. Very weird. Okay. And so, you can do exercises where you take a dot and, you get used to, like this is easy because we can see, right? Like anytime you can do that. Oh, except that over here is difficult because your hand is obscuring, right? So there are two quadrants. Basically, anything here, which your hand is going to be, that's like a blind spot, here is difficult. And any of this quadrant here is difficult because as you draw out here, your hand obscures the goal points. So it's just, having this radiating skill, right? It's like I can go up, out, 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 right? That's just a useful skill to have. You don't have to do it all in one line like that, but I guess, being able to do something like this, that's easy. Oops. And it doesn't have to be perfect, okay? Like perfection is the enemy of creativity. Truly. Like as long as it exhibits the basic trend, it's fine. It's good enough. And so this radiating stuff, right? Like this is done with a circle, but I can make it more ovoid, right? We'll blah, blah, blah. And you don't have to do this all as one line, right? So if you have some sort of physical impairment problem, whatever, then you can break up the line in smaller parts, right? People from the get-go, like to draw like little stuff like this, right? They want to do that. It's comfortable. Okay, fine. You can do that. But don't scribble. Like you can do one at a time, right? You can do little bits, right? So this is I'm gonna try and meet you part way and say, look, fine, you can't draw a circle. Can you draw a piece of a circle? And this makes it easy, right? And so this time the radiating is gonna apply. We're applying a squash to it, right? There's a bit of a squash. This is a squash radiant, and even then, it's like maybe I'm turning a little too fast. Okay. Right, and this is we're now tilting this, right? We're taking this whole thing and we're tilting it down. This is the wonderful thing about having the drawing tablet, is that I can take this circle and now we can perspective wise we can tilt it, right? Oh, look, now it's tilted like this, and okay, I'm gonna draw, right? And that's the thing, right? Is that I'm gonna try and there we are, right? If you feel like you don't have very good control, very good hand-eye coordination, then that's okay. You don't need a ton of hand-eye coordination. You just move the pen until it's in the right spot. And I'm hovering, right? I'm hover drawing. Oh, yeah, that's about right. Okay. And then I need to alter the spacing towards the edge. Right? So right now I'm actually looking through the camera. I'm seeing exactly the same camera view that you're seeing. And so even if you don't have, this throws all my hand-eye coordination out the window. Even if you don't have any hand-eye coordination, you can still draw. It doesn't actually require a lot of hand-eye coordination. The barrier to entry is very low, right? Like this whole time I'm just trying to explain that I'm trying to get rid of all of your excuses to not draw. Okay, you have no excuse. All right, you have no excuse because it's actually really easy if you make it easy for yourself. There's no excuses now. Right. So the radiating stuff, right? The radiating stuff is really, like, you can see how these lines here, right? These are all radiating, right? All of these lines. If I do, I guess Yeah, here, if I do like if this is my vanishing point, right? And this vanishing point is going to do something like that, right? That's what happens to the quad, right? The quad's going to do that. And I have to radiate my lines outwards. And if you find that the lines are getting too big, well, then just, cut down the size of your quad. Or if you're using a digital canvas, then just zoom out and make the line that you have to draw shorter. And so, yeah, get used to here. If I wanted to draw the cylinder, so this is now we're doing some guided tiling. And so we're guiding the tiles just by breaking the line. And the reason I break the line is just because, well, I've got a few things. I've got this iPad protector, which has this little, it's got a bit of a ridge to it, and sometimes it bumps my hand. And yeah, my actual working area before I bump into that thing, I mean, I could peel it off, right? But I don't want to drop my iPad and damage it. So, I don't have to peel it off now. I don't have to peel off the protector. I can keep this thing protected. Yeah, my hand can bump in there. I don't care. Not important. It's irrelevant now if I just break the line up. And people be like, oh no, my line quality. And I'm like, the line quality is irrelevant. It's irrelevant. My hand-eye coordination, it's irrelevant. Right? This is the thing is that like the perfection, no amount of perfection or accuracy is really, people don't care about that. They don't care how the sausage is made. And oh no, I had one extra, I could undo that, right? I could undo that. Or I could just like double down and just, draw additional lines. So this is that, that next level of tiling. And then also, we're going to adjust our spacing, right? So the idea is that you can have wide spacing in the middle part and you can have narrower spacing on the edges, because it's just, if I draw regularly spaced lines, right, in perspective, as we tilt it, right, like the lines get closer together, right? So it's just, I'm just going to go very, very, narrow, and then I'm going to spread that out, right? So we're going to have to do some trending, except this is not the trending, like the TikTok type trending, but, you're going to be using a spatial trending to communicate this sense of depth and perspective, this sense that a surface, actually here, it's like, maybe I should widen those things a little bit. If I want to communicate that this is a bulbous object, I can adjust the length and the spacing of those lines to really communicate that sort of surface tilt detail. And I'm not going to tell you draw people. This is the funny thing, right? Is that we're like, okay, first we're going to learn to draw some boxes, and then we're going to learn to draw some spheres, and then we're going to draw some cones, and then straight to people, right? Like I'm just like, no, not straight to people, because people are moving things, and it's a big jump in the difficulty. And I'm just like, no. Let's just do something simpler. All right, you can let's do like a simpler object. Like we'll do a coffee mug, right? We'll figure out, okay, what's the width of that coffee mug, and this is just using this broken line. Fuck line quality, man. Line quality don't matter. It doesn't matter. What matters is that we aim, right? I'm aiming. We're just taking little pot shots at this whole thing. We're not trying to snipe. We just got ourselves our little gray common rarity shit ass stitcher, or like a handgun. We got a Berletta here. We're pulling Arc Raiders. And, we're just gonna take a few pot shots at this. Right? This is some crap quality, low rarity. I'm not using no epic techniques. In fact, I'm gonna, right? This is using that radiating, right? I'm radiating and I'm curved, right? It's like you don't have to use straight lines. You can use two lines, right? So in this case, I'm doing two quads because there's like one quad over here. And then there's another quad over here, right? And then, there's another quad over here, right? It's like this This is getting into the drawing of a box by using quads. Right. And each one of these little things is, oh, this is now its own quad, right? Every little piece of this, every time you draw these lines, it's like, oh, look, I'm making additional quads. And the reason why I'm not getting you drawing people right away is because a lot of people who get used to drawing people hate drawing backgrounds, hate drawing guns, hate drawing environments and doing props and all these other things. And they're like, they draw people and then they don't know how to draw the clothing on them. They don't know how to draw the wristwatches, the hats, or the accessories they've gotten. It's because, their learning has been lopsided. They went straight to people and they missed everything in between. They don't like drawing animals. They don't like drawing, and so, that's why I'm going to get you right away to start looking at objects. Look at objects rather than people. And this is especially good for people who are introverts, who don't like dealing with people. And you don't want to have the pressure of, oh no, the anatomy is wrong, and oh no, look at this person trying to draw the perspective and the they tried to draw somebody looking upwards and they completely ganked the anatomy or whatever. It's like we don't need this pressure. Right? We don't need that stress. You can do it later, after you've done this. This is not so much a mug as a tankard. But right, it's like I haven't even drawn much detail on this tankard. I've drawn a lot of perspective lines though, right? And this thing is really like, it's a very maximal drawing, right? And there's something about it that feels detailed, even though it's not really detailed. But there's a lot of perspective information on this tankard now, right? And so now it's like, I can really appreciate every line that's on this thing, right? And it's very satisfying. That was the word I guess that was missing, right? As I say that doing this sort of tiling stuff, this knitting, this whittling stuff, it's not thrilling. But it's satisfying, right? When I said it was enough, it's like, yeah, it's very satisfying. And I think that's what, well, I mean, they literally have, viral videos of AI-generated viral videos of like clay being mushed around and kneaded and chopped up into little, regular patterns. Well, guess what? This is kind of the same thing, except it's interactive. You do it. This is DIY. This is the DIY satisfaction. Make your own satisfaction. And I tell you, man, like going to bed satisfied, it's a good feeling. It's a really good feeling. And so I think that's what people are often needing. And I think a lot of the scrolling is leaving people constantly unsatisfied. I think if anything, it tends to increase this gap of expectations. And so what I want people to have when they draw is actually to be able to satisfy themselves. And it's kind of funny is that like a few people that I know were saying how sometimes a lot of YouTube tries to get you to like, comment, and subscribe and follow me and blah blah blah. And I'm like, you know what? Look, if some guy saw one of my videos, maybe partway through had the epiphany, right? Or maybe I told them something that was useful to them up front, and then they zoomed off. They clicked off the video, zoomed off, started drawing and doing whatever it was that I showed them, and then found their own road, and zoomed off and became a really successful artist. Never to see, and completely forgot about me and any of my videos. Never saw my videos again. And I'm like, hey, I've done my job. It's like that's good. A teacher's supposed to be a launch pad for their students. So no, you don't have to like follow me and subscribe or all that stuff. It's like, look, if I gave you something useful and you got bored watching my video, for the rest of my long-winded videos, and you decided you wanted to start drawing, good for you. Good for you. Keep doing whatever it is you can. Try to make as many discoveries on your own as you can. And if you forget about me and zoom off and become a successful artist, I'm like, that's a win. that's a win. That's like that means that I was able to make a successful artist without them even having to watch the whole fucking video. That's incredible. I don't need to do numbers. I don't need to do millions of views and have like a zillion followers. That's completely unnecessary. So yeah, if you're bored, if you're feeling antsy and you want to draw right now, do it. Do it. Go draw. You want to do some tiling? Fine. If you're looking for the next step, okay, fine. Come back. Maybe you'll find something in the rest of the video. But yeah, I despise the algorithm. I really, really despise the algorithm, and I refuse to play their game because I don't think that I just don't feel like it helps artists. But yeah, okay, let's continue. Well, what did I have to talk about here? Right? We talk about quads, we talk about perspective and radiating. How about waypointing? Sure. Right. So here, I like to give people the goods up front, right? We're gonna talk about waypointing and breaking, breaking up the lines. Waypointing I've demonstrated a little bit of, but I'll call it out. Simple shapes and objects. Yeah, I mean we already kind of touched on that. Bethesda guns I've already mentioned. We will get into that, and detailing with patterns, right? I mean I've already kind of, you guys have a rough idea of where I'm headed. So waypointing, yeah, waypointing is like, okay, look. As much as I like doing these little broken lines, sometimes it's like we don't know where the broken line is heading to. That's why I put a little dot down here, right? That little dot. Remember the radiating exercise, right? That's just so that I can be mindful of where I'm heading, and that's the waypoint. All right, you guys already know what it is, but I'm just calling it out. Okay, so the radiating stuff is pretty much the waypointing. It's the same thing, right? Knowing that there's this dot here and that's where I am. Look, I've waypointed, so it just means that when I do broken lines, I know where I'm headed. That's all. That's all. This stuff doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be super complex. It doesn't have to require a zillion lessons. And this thing, which looks like a triangle, I mean, if I want, we can truncate that triangle. We can bop. And then I think if I double tap this thing, it should double tap. I don't know if I double tap again. Nope, hang on. There's supposed to be a way to swap between erasers and tools, and it's not doing it. I dropped this pen once, and for all I know, it's I may have screwed it up. Oh no, it's fine now. Okay, I'm not feeling anything. Like this thing has haptics, and the fact that it's not like responding. Oh, it's erasing now. You know what it is? I think, okay, here, let's pause this thing. Okay, I have figured out. Okay, so for those of you who are using an iPad to draw, in your settings, okay, under double tap, there's this thing where you can tell to allow double tap only with hover. I had that on. But what I found that it does, okay, you're going to be trading. There's a trade going. So the thing is, the trade is if you tell it to double tap only with hover, it means that your stylus has to be in range when you do the double tap. But the trade is that, yeah, okay, so it's working now. Is that if you have it off, your stylus will always stay kind of active. Even if you're out here, because now I can like, oh wait, I can't double tap out here. It's not going to respond. Ugh. And it's actually kind of unreliable. Ooh. I think sometimes when I double tap, it might pull it out of range as well. It's highly unreliable. Highly unreliable. So that feature, turn that off. Well, it's off by default, and I can see why. It's poorly implemented. Yeah. But the other problem is that turning that off makes it so that it always wants to know where the stylus is at all times. This thing uses Bluetooth to communicate, like the Apple, this thing. It's always using Bluetooth to communicate, which means that even when it's not in use, it will be draining power. Like it drains power like a mofo. And so you'd have to like keep it charging all the time. right? If you stow it like in this little slot here, like on this thing, it will be draining power. So yeah, I guess if you want to stow it for a while, then you turn that feature on because it needs to know if the thing's hovering or not. Right now, it works great. Now it's fine. So it'll work better, but it'll eat battery. Right. So back to where we were. Yeah, this thing was a triangle shape. I went and I truncated. And now look, we've got quads. Right. Anytime you have a triangle, you can just truncate that sucker. And now it's a quad. Oh God. Technology, man. Technology. Right. And then we see the radiating again. So this is about applying that perspective trend. And if I know that a cube would do this, right? Like if I was to have a box on this thing, I can do that. This is just part of something. This is just I'm used to doing this now. I know what the trend is. So I can apply that sort of perspective very easily. Right. Breaking. Okay, so breaking, why break lines, when to break lines. It's simple because, mechanically I just want to draw that far. This is like the easiest line for me to draw. So, like you can just tell, right? Your fingers want to go from here, they want to go to there, right? How straight is that line going to be? Not very, right? So maybe from here to here is that's more realistic. Right. So breaking is just breaking things down to realistically what you physically can cover. What animators will often do is like they draw using the entire arm, in which case you have to peel off your iPad protector or whatever it is. This is done without any line breaking, right? I was like literally drawing from here to here and just going wiggle, 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 right? Like it's just because this is a very hard kind of line to draw straight, pulling in like that. It's terrible. It's a terrible feeling. It's an awful feeling. This is why I break lines. Right? All of these lines are drawn using like right? And it could be a style, right? You can draw like that as long as you know where you're going to and you actually get there. Like there's a lot of crooked lines, but it's got a charm. Okay, it has its own kind of charm, and I'm not going to start saying that all your lines have to be perfect, and there's something about it that feels very, I don't know, kind of crafty-ish. Like it feels kind of old-timey. Right. Drawing things like a cartridge casing. This is a very thick-walled cartridge casing. Very exaggerated features. Exaggerating feature makes it kind of cartoonized. So it's like, something like this I could draw a box. Or actually just the top of a box. One quad. Right. And something like this we can round it out. Right? We just round off the corners. Drop that down. We're gonna neck the cartridge. Necking is when the part that contains the projectile has been narrowed, so it's been a necked cartridge. Right now it's kind of a fat. It's got this fat sort of body to it, and it's like. Yeah, I ran out of room to move, but because I broke the line, it's okay, right? If you try to draw really long, unbroken lines, it shows a lot of commitment. And the less sure I am of a line, the less sure I am, because like this is all unknown. It's all covered by my hand as I'm drawing, right? It's like I'm not going to commit to it, right? It's like I'm not going to commit to a mobile contract if it's a crappy. If I'm not feeling like the terms are very good, right? Don't commit to things you're unsure of. Common sense, right? And then we can tile a little bit of that, right? We can tile. And funny is that like doing this uneven tiling, it looks like detail. It's not. It's just pattern. It's detailing through pattern. And here, look. Take a look at this thing, right? This is brushed steel, right? Look at those patterns on the top of it, right? Look how they do that. Look at the patterns you get on this edge, right? You got this stuff going on. Hey, you could tile that going down that way. You got this line here. You can tile that, right? So same thing with the glass, right? Oh, look at that highlight, that sheen. This is my snack jar, okay? Like I fill this thing up with like peanuts or like chips or whatever, and then I take like a little bit at a time. That's why it's so spongy. That's why it's such a textured, spongy jar. We look at the underside of this thing. Look at those radial lines on this. Right? That barcode. There's that barcode. That could be, even that text could all be. We could definitely tile that. This barcode is like a prime candidate for tiling. This knurling on this bottom, this texturing, that is a prime candidate for like radiating. You can see how the tiling would really, really work on a shape like this, especially to simulate like the turning, right? So it's like, yeah, we can right? We know where we're heading to, right? So we're going to waypoint a little. Glenn Villepulu has his point to point, right? I call it waypointing. They're the same thing. And you can zigzag. And then, this patterning that I have, or I should say this, right, I'm going to keep this big shiny band here. We're going to keep the big shiny band here as well, because they're two cylinders just of slightly different diameters, right? So that's got, I'm going to keep that spot here. So I guess, yeah. And then I guess I could have like, right? And then when we're over on this edge here, yeah, I can, right? Easy. Very easy. Doot, 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 right? There's that perspective trend. And I do that to make it, go into. I want the surface form to go into. Oh, and we can radiate, right? We're going to radiate, right? Even here, right? We can, that's like another cylinder somewhere in there, right? Cartridge casings, easy. The only thing that's difficult about them is the sheer number you have to draw if a person's done a lot of daka in one spot. But satisfying. It'll keep you, it's like rather than scrolling for hours, you could be doing something like this. All right, let's talk about some more pattern detail, right? Like look at this thing. Oh, look at all the detail on it. Okay, all right. Easy. Don't get overwhelmed. Don't worry. We'll just whelm you. Get used to being whelmed. So we'll draw a very narrow cylinder, right? And the thing about the cylinder is there's hardly any detail on it. But what I could do is I can just add, like here, we'll just put a trim line, right? Trim lines, and the trim line can be very close to that edge. We can put another, maybe instead of putting the trim line like this, like if you make them symmetrical, yeah, okay. But I like to maybe bring it down. You can bring it down by a half. But I kind of don't like a half because that makes this look the same. And that one looks the same, right? I don't like too much same. If you, on the other hand, maybe breaking it down by a third, right? Different. Makes it look complex. So I kind of like that. And then here I could even draw like a little, put a little notch on that. Oh, look, detail, right? The detail is just a thing to grab your attention, right? And then we'll kind of split this out. And none of this stuff has to make any sense, right? This is just, all this is just like the, this is just the tiling, but I mean, it's got a bit more structure to it, right? And we add a little bit of our plan as we go along. We waypoint, right? We'll turn that into a big cylinder. We'll go up. And we'll radiate, 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 radiate. You know, going out, radiate, radiate, out. Doop, doop, doop. All right, boom. And suddenly it's like, look how much like tiny detail there. Okay, right. We can add a little dot, a little circle on that. We can do every other maybe. And then here, I'll maybe do another. Or maybe what I'll do is I'll here, let's do another concentric. Boop, boop. And the reason why I like doing these like little broken lines is the broken lines become little areas I could radiate, radiate. Whoops. Right? I can radiate, radiate. I don't have to be perfect, right? It just has to follow the basic trend. Like, okay, this one was a little crooked, but whatever. Because this is so maximalistic and I'm drawing so many lines, as long as, you know, most of them are about right, it's fine. Right there. And the thing about, you know, not having to be perfect, like the fact that I'm so nonchalant and uncaring about trying to be perfect is it's very low upkeep. And the nice thing about low upkeep is you're there for the long haul, right? This allows for endurance. This is sustainable. You could be doing, this is like, I'm not trying to turn you guys into perfect, you know, perfect artists who are like, oh yeah, making like the legendary high quality super detail. I'm like, no. I'm turning you guys into marathon runners, right? Because the thing is, I want you to keep drawing. I want you to, you know, not draw one drawing, get burned out on it, and then stop. You know, no. I want you to have, you know, to be able to go the distance. Right? You can see how I'm like doing that little over edge, right? I'm taking that flat edge and now I'm turning it into like a thicker. Now I've given it some thickness. All right, now I can boop, 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 boop. Right? You know, some people like to put together Legos. You know, I've got some friends who enjoy putting together Legos. And this is just a very cathartic exercise, right? A lot of catharsis in this. And it feels kind of cool, right? What is this thing? Is it a mechanical pencil? Is it a jet turbine? Is it some kind of cathedral, you know, mega city structure? Who fucking knows, man? Who cares? It's an abstract piece of geometry. All right. And it doesn't have to have a plan to it. But, you know, we could use this for like this technique for drawing some gears maybe, right? So I guess I'll like here, want to draw some gears? Okay, we can draw some gears. Yeah, hang on one second. Right, we'll have an outer diameter. We'll have like an inner diameter to the gear, right? Because we want to know how far the teeth stretch out. We want to know like where the okay, and then yeah, I'll just I guess here. I need a little bit more, you know, guidance on this. So I can do, yeah, we can go out, we can go in, we can go out, we can go in, we can go out, in. Yeah, close enough, right? Boop, boop. Oh, right, boop, right. And the thing is, like, I'll just make adjustments. Boop, 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 boop. It's a little wicky-wacky, you know, it's fine. And the thing is, if you drew one imperfect gear, well, all you got to do is just draw a whole bunch more imperfect gears. We can... And the thing is that it's like, you can make a drawing that is absolutely chock full of imperfections. No one will care. No one will care. Here, we can draw... Oh, yeah. Hold on. Whoa. Okay, here. We'll take another. We'll right. We'll want to draw these gear teeth because gear teeth have to mesh, and then right. Ugh, I ran into the edge of the tablet. Fine, I'll correct. Okay. Here we are. And then I can draw. Yeah, that goes out. That one goes down, out, and in. Sorry, not down. That one's out. Right? We just alternate. And then, look at that. Easy game. Easy game. Oh, it was a little wrong. Oh, well. That's okay. We'll just have to draw. We'll just have to draw some more gears. And that's okay, right? Like, who cares if you got it wrong? I can live with it. And then, yeah, let's drop that down. Doot, doot, doot. That one goes like that. Right? Because drawing, reason why a lot of people, burn out when they draw is because they just, so much anxiety, man. Gotta be perfect. Oh, the line's not right. It didn't go exactly the way I wanted. And so, yeah, it just puts on this extra, mental upkeep strain. Starts sucking away your MP, your mana points. And, the older you get, and I am getting old, the less mana points I have. And, I just keep hearing about artists burning out, man, and having health problems and this and that. And it's like, maybe we got to change a little bit. Yeah. Change. Something has to change. And so I'm just saying, we need to adopt something, a way of an approach that's not so, something that's a little more sustainable. Not so much of a hard upkeep. And you could say, oh, but the gear, it looks too simple. Okay, fine. We just add a little, we'll add this little extra detail in there, right? And the reason we add these little extra details is because gears typically would have a shaft that goes through them, and that shaft might have a little cutout on it. So that little cutout serves for, like, the shaft would have a notch, like a little thing that sticks out on it, like a little bump, and that bump goes into that notch, and it makes it so that the gear doesn't slide over the shaft when it turns, right? So yeah, you add that little, you could have one, you could have two, you could have three, you could do, one on each side. Now it's more detail, right? It is a detail. So yeah, details are just things like this little bolt that I put on there and the little, casing ejection port and this like bent wire stock, which is actually too short. The barrel's too long and it's going to clash when you try and pull it. And the thing already has a fucking stock. So that's why I say this is a Bethesda gun. Okay. Right. So it's like, we just have a vocabulary, right? I've got a vocabulary of details, a vocabulary of like, oh, little notches that I cut out, like these little, that's part of my vocabulary. That's like a one word in my vocabulary. Taking this long wire and splitting it up with the occasional little trim line. That's another, right? The little safety kind of switch. That's another detail, right? The trigger guard, the little grippy things, right? The bottom of the magazine with the thing, the little tab that sticks out. Like they're all just bits of vocabulary, right? And you just stick them together and throw them. And the butt stock with that little kind of thing that goes there, right? Like that's all this is, right? All of it is just vocabulary, and you just got to build up that vocabulary. And yeah, I guess, I mean, we want to draw some like Bethesda guns and stuff, then well, okay, maybe a not so Bethesda gun. All right, so here, right, you're gonna have your magazine, which contains the bullets. And then there's got to be some kind of receiver, right? Because the magazine has to get plugged into this thing. And then your receiver, it has to have, I guess, it's got to have something which picks up, which takes the bullets. And then I guess somewhere over here there's a chamber. So, right? So basically it's got to take one bullet out of that thing. And that bullet has to get rammed into the chamber, and then the chamber is basically right up against your barrel, right? And then there's probably gonna be some sort of striker. Oh boy. yeah, there's going to be some sort of striker assembly, right? I don't know all the details of this stuff, right? It's like that's what research is for, which I'm not very well researched on the internals of guns. But yeah, I mean your bullet will probably go up like this, it'll probably go like that. You can probably find some animated GIFs of like, loading. So there's some sort of striker pin, something like that, I guess. And maybe the thing is, you know what? Maybe all of this stuff, like, right? We're just gonna grab that. We just move that over. Let's see, right? Where should it sit? Honestly, I need to look at I need to see some like 3D animated models of this stuff because I don't have it in my head. But the idea is that there is something going on. Maybe I'll black box it a little bit. Um, yeah, okay. So double tapping the barrel of this thing is a little too easy to trigger accidentally, and I might have to disable that. Yeah, I'm gonna have to disable that. Or I'll have to remap it. We're gonna have to remove the friction from that. And then there's some sort of trigger assembly here, and there's some sort of what's it that goes along the side of the gun. Maybe that's how it is, right? Is that there's like some sort of trigger linkage where this trigger here pushes a rod, and the rod releases. You've got your firing pin. There's some sort of spring as well that kicks the thing forward, and then there needs to be something which pulls and resets that. And so the gun's a 3-dimensional mechanism, and there's a bolt. There's like some kind of bolt mechanism. So there's right. There's like the question as to whether this gun fires from an open bolt or a closed bolt, right? And so if it's firing from a closed bolt, then the bolt has to be in the forward position, I think. And then when it's an open bolt, then the bolt has to be in the back position, right? So those are considerations for when you make your gun, right? But in any case, yeah, you've got all this stuff. You have the barrel as well. And this is just the raw, like, mechanism of the gun. It's not the outer casing, right? Because then you've got to think about things like, well, how are you going to hold on to this thing? Well, you've got the trigger guard, you've got the handle, right? Is your magazine going to be in your handle? In fact, if for pistols, it's like this, right? For rifles, though, I mean, most rifles, I think they have their magazine in front of the trigger, right? So it's more like that. And then you've got this other rear grip. So your hand goes in here. So I guess your trigger guard and your firing pin and all that stuff go behind all, the bullet and stuff. So the bullet just has to go up into there, and then, it goes into the chamber. And then you've got your barrel, right? So this is a typical, submachine gun, rifle, primary type weapon. And then there might be, you might have some sort of stock which comes off of this thing that for you to shoulder it. And then maybe there is some sort of, there can be like a whoops, right? There's some kind of foregrip here. Or maybe there's you could have a kind of a foregrip like that. And, this is just basically knowing what's inside, and then you're building around this whole thing, and you're thinking about where are the fire controls going to be. I guess we can make it so that if I'm holding this trigger here, right, we'll scale it up to like semi-life size, right? And I guess maybe there will be some kind of, long paddle here for me to operate, right? Like on an AK, they'll have like a long paddle, or who knows, right? You're gonna, or maybe it won't be so long. Maybe it'll be like a smaller kind of a little thing like that, right? And then maybe on this thing, right, where you have the receiver, you've got some sort of thing to like a little tab. Maybe the tab's in the front, or maybe it's in the back. You got to think about the ergonomics of holding the thing, and these all determine, the layout. This is the planning. This is where you're going to decide what kind of sweater you're going to knit. And this is how, you can come up with some of these concepts. And then you got to think about how are you going to aim the bloody thing. And so, will you have some sort of integrated like little gun sight, a rear sight and a front sight, so that you can see, if you're seeing, like, do those things line up, or maybe those will be like the backup iron sights, so these things can be folded down, and then you've got some sort of Picatinny rail, right, or wrist rail or whatever it is. Sorry, that was an abysmally bad Picatinny rail. We just draw a regular dot 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 dot, and the thing about it is that, like, a true Picatinny rail would have something like this, right? It's like trapezoids. That way it really locks it into place, right? But if you're lazy, fine. Lazy time, right? Or if you don't want to, okay, if you want to do it right, fine. Do a bunch of regular ones like that, and you make it so that there's like less of a gap. So the gaps are smaller, and you do that. And then you go doot, doot, doot. Oh yeah, doot, doot, doot. Okay. And there, now you've got a proper cross section for a Picatinny rail. In which case you have another, piece which goes like that, and that becomes your. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna have to. I need to disable that. That is under settings. Finger disable. Okay. And then that. And it can just be some silly tube, right? So, and I guess if you want, then you can have like a little thing that goes. I'm just thinking for a second. Yeah, whatever. You can have this thing which goes like that, and then you've got this big knurly knob on the top. You have another knurly knob over here, and there's like a little, and yeah, there you go. That's like a really, really simple kind of sight. And where will you put this thing? Should it be forward? Should it be back? I don't know. I don't really know that much about guns. But obviously the more you know, then the faster this stuff will come to you. Yeah. And this is just like a side view, right? Like, after you've done your side view, you can start thinking, okay, well, fine, I'm gonna. Right, to me, the answer to short form content is long form content. Boop, boop, boop. Right. I guess we can draw the barrel. The barrel kind of goes back like that. Yeah. The cylinder. Right. I'm just leaving this open as like a shine. Right. That's this shiny shine stuff going on here from the brushed steel, because it's been turned on a lathe, right? The lathe has left those little grooves. That's why I say, it's like, oh, just for fun, I shall make Bethesda guns, because I don't want to get too wrapped up in the engineering of it. It's a gun that would never work. I'll try and keep my shine like this. The shine can be like that, right? You can literally outline your shine and just go right. And we can do a little bit of that here, right? So we can see this start here starting to come together, and this is where there we are, right? That's some tiling. We're running out of space. I know. We're running out. We could just lasso the whole thing out and then find a. I'm running out of space, man. I could start a new canvas. But you know, I'm fine. If I run out of space, I'll run out of space. So what? Like, I'll just stop the drawing there. And just, you know, this is something you can do like anywhere, right? Like, here's the other reason why I advocate for like breaking lines and just saying to hell with the line quality is because if you're on a train, especially if you're on a bus, there's gonna be bumpity bump, man. It's gonna be very bumpity bump. Your lines are gonna it's gonna be like try drawing a nice long straight unbroken line, right? It's gonna be very hard. So if you're in transit and there's a lot of bumping, then you know, don't commit to such a long freaking line then. Just he says as he draws like a long wiggly line. You know, just learn to accept the wiggly lines and use your waypointing. As long as things are more or less um, obeying your waypointing, then you're fine, man. Like, okay. Right. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, there's not. I mean, I won't say that's all. I'd say there's probably other things for you to figure out along the way, but you know, maybe it'd be good for you to be able to figure out some of this stuff, right? It can't all come from me. Otherwise, it's like yeah, I'm giving away spoilers to the movie. Yeah, it's like some of this stuff would actually might be enjoyable for you to find out for yourself. Yeah, fuck around and find out. Although not in the way that it's typically. I know the context is different. All right, video's been 56 minutes. What a blast! Like the time just absolutely flies. But you know, I'd rather spend an hour doing this stuff than an hour scrolling.